everyone. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. In 1891, the North Carolina General Assembly passed House Bill number 383, which established a normal school for, quote, teaching and training teachers of the colored race to teach in the common schools of North Carolina. That school is Elizabeth City State University. Today, it offers 31 baccalaureate programs and 3 master's programs, and consistently ranks well as one of the best colleges in the South. Now there is new leadership, and we'll have a conversation with the 5th Chancellor of ECSU, Dr. Stacey Franklin Jones. Another View is next, right after this news from NPR.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Before we start today, I want to say a very special welcome to Terriel Payton and Sally Hartman. Sally Hartman is with the Norfolk Rotary, and they partner with students in high school. Terriel is a senior at Booker T High School who is very interested in communications. So they're here today to observe how we put Another View together and what happens behind the scenes. So welcome to Terriel and to Sally Hartman. I have a question for you. How does a former defense and electronic software engineer, product development manager, engineering manager and system architect, and senior consultant on executive management, technology partnerships, and corporate development become the chancellor of 124-year-old Elizabeth City State University? Well, let's ask her. Please welcome to Another View, Dr. Stacey Franklin Jones. Dr. Jones, welcome to Another View.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you have all of this experience in the private sector. How did you switch over to education?
Well, actually, after about 13 years in the aerospace industry, I knew that I wanted to apply those principles to higher education and be of service and do things a little differently than the traditional academic approach. And so I prepared for it, served as chair, dean, administrator,
worked my way up through
the ranks. And then the perfect opportunity came about. And that was the opportunity to take all that I had acquired in terms of experience and put it to work for the most deserving region of the country, the students. And that's how I got to Elizabeth City State University. I'm honored to be here, honored to be here as chancellor.
Now, you were named in October. Of this year, of 2014. So you've been there about, almost 6 months or so, not quite 6 months. In your first 90 days or so, how has it been, and what are you seeing for the university?
Well, the first 90 days, getting to know the community, a wonderful community. The Elizabeth City area, the harbor hospitality truly is, but also getting to know the students, the faculty, and our wonderful alum. And so that was pretty much the first 90 days, the transition. But we've had to do that pretty quickly. We have a very ambitious 4-year plan, the Path to Prominence. It has 3 phases, and the first is really to get the word out. We are a jewel in Elizabeth City. But we getting our story out has been just a bit of a challenge.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because unfortunately, particularly here in the Hampton Roads area, when we hear about ECSU, more than likely it's because of something negative that has happened on campus. And so, the whole idea of you trying to make sure that people really know what ECSU is all about is important. So what are the important things you want the audience to know about the school?
Well, the most important thing, it is the most affordable academic success community and university in North Carolina, but serving the entire region, which of course includes parts of Virginia as well. We have been ranked not only amongst HBCUs, and that's one of the top HBCUs in the country, one of the top 10 for freshmen actually returning after their first year. And then even our campus, beautiful campus, one of the top 10 for greenest campuses for HBCUs. But overall, baccalaureate programs, Washington Monthly has ranked us 3 years in a row, and not many people know this about Elizabeth City State University, amongst the baccalaureate colleges, number one. Phenomenal. And that has to do with not only our esteemed programs, but the social mobility aspect. Number one in the country in that area. Also, U.S. News and World Report, a lot of people are familiar with that ranking. Number two, I'm never going to be happy with number two, but we'll take it.
We'll take it from there.
We'll take it. But there's so much going on at ECSU. We have the only baccalaureate aviation science program in the entire state.
Wow.
And even for the region, that goes, into Virginia. Talk about the most affordable approach to becoming a pilot. And for FAA, they're now reporting some 600,000 pilots, of which only 6% are women. An opportunity for young women to come to fly. Also, we have programs in unmanned aircraft systems, which otherwise are known as drones.
Right.
Brand new, fully supported, fully funded. Our students have the opportunity to not only take the courses, but interact with, and I'm going to get a little technical here with our coasties. We're right next to the Coast Guard base. So they have an opportunity to be guided by those working for Homeland Security. We have a criminal justice major, so they can bridge that as well. And these are not just, people coming in and giving lectures, but actually interacting with the students, and they get a chance to experience things that you wouldn't be able to experience anywhere else. So,
how many students on campus?
We have just under 2,000 students. We're growing. There's no secret that the enrollment took a hit over the last few years, but we're turning that around. And part of that, of course, in our first phase of the Path to Prominence is getting the word out about the Jewel in Northeastern North Carolina.
Now, you all are a part of the UNC system.
We are.
For my Virginia listeners,
right? Yes.
To explain that all of the public universities in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, are a part of the UNC system. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
And so, what is the advantage and/or disadvantage to that membership?
Well, the advantage is you have the relationships with the other institutions, so the partnership. But also we have a general administration and a board of governors whose sole purpose is to make sure that the university system serves the students and the citizens of North Carolina. So when we are looking at programs and partnering with other universities, that's very easy. Also, in terms of funding, we have an advocate. We have each other in terms of the other institutions, but we also have a general administration that advocates for us and goes to the General Assembly for budget purposes.
So if you are a student at Elizabeth City and there's a course that you want to take at, I don't know, UNC as an example, I mean, is that kind of cross school opportunity also?
Yes, absolutely. And vice versa, because we have actually, of the UNC system, proportionally, we're number 2 for online courses.
Really?
ECSU is, again, an absolute jewel. So as we talk, there are just all kinds of things to discover about ECSU. But yes, you can take a course, at another university, but then there are many students at the other constituent universities that also take courses at ECSU.
So you said this was a 3-pronged approach or 4-pronged?
Three phases. So the first really, again, it's really touting, and that's what we're proud, very proud. Almost 125 years of pride. The fact that we are the most affordable academic success university in North Carolina and really in the region. The second phase deals with being regionally relevant in terms of all of our programs, all of our research, even our industry partnerships. And that's the second phase, and so we're focused there. And the third, as I like to refer to as our debut as the interdisciplinary science university for the region. That's the third phase. And we have a 4-year plan. We are off and running. We have secured actually a number of grants just within the last 60 days. Over $1 million that just came in for our aviation science program. We have just a number of support sponsored programs that are coming in from different areas. A number of students who will be eligible for scholarships at a higher level than prior. We have a wonderful alumni association and alum who are fast raising dollars to attract students from different areas. We all see the value of having, I don't like to overuse the word diverse, but diverse from a different perspective, not just, the traditional thoughts in terms of diversity, but having an environment where it's not only inclusive, but it actually touts the global aspect, the economic development and the regional relevance. And our alumni are doing a wonderful job at helping to raise additional scholarship dollars this year that we'll be awarding. So we're super excited about that, and they are too. And so hopefully some of them are listening, and whatever they were thinking about doing, now they'll do 3 times as much.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact,
for each phase.
Let's give them an opportunity to call in 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. What are your questions about Elizabeth City State University and the opportunities that the school offers? If you're an alum, give us a call, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So knowing your background, the STEM focus does not surprise me. But I'm very curious, since you have had both private industry, federal experience, and academic experience. There's all this focus on STEM opportunities, some of which say you don't necessarily need to go to a 4-year school. And you can still become successful in jobs in that field. I'm wondering how you feel about that, and also where you find the intersection between what the private industry in particular needs versus what the universities in general are teaching. How does that come together?
Well, at ECSU, we're a university. So we are focused on the knowledge workforce level. Any successful country and certainly region is going to have representation in all the different levels, but has to be led by the knowledge workforce. That's where we keep up with all of the high tech, but not just in the traditional thought about technology. We provide the overwhelming majority of teachers in our region. And so teachers that are trained with technology as a resource, but then also certainly in teaching in mathematics and science, those are critical needs areas. But then we have many other majors. So yes, there's going to be a focus on STEM. That is my background, and it is very, very important for the future, not only of the region and the country, but
globally even.
Absolutely. But our students have an opportunity to explore many other majors. So it's kind of taking the best of a liberal arts matriculation along with the STEM. And you can't do that at many places. Usually it's either a liberal arts or it's a technology or an institute of technology. But you were asking about doing less than a 4-year degree and going on. Well, there are going to be certainly opportunities for students to go for 1 or 2 years and go into the workforce. But if you have a region where that is the ceiling, that's going to have an impact and actually limit the growth of the region. And we are a university. We are focused on the 4-year beyond. But there's a path for every student. We, of course, take students right out of high school. Some come to us from the community colleges. Some will go to the community college first just to earn their 24 hours and come to us. So There are many different ways to be successful. And what we do is work with our student in finding their path to prominence. Our 4-year vision is path to prominence, but to help the student find their path, help them to execute it, and then we want them to go and have an impact on the world.
You have most of your degree. You have 4 degrees.
I do.
And they're all in STEM fields.
They are.
I wonder what you say to young women about why they should not be afraid of STEM and why this is an important area for them to get into.
Afraid? Okay, so that's the approach. Young women have an advantage. Certainly, intellectually, there's no proven difference between men and women. Mm-hmm. But in terms of instinct and intuition that really help you to navigate that terrain, I know I'm on air, but I'm saying this. Women, we have a real advantage. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think that we seize the opportunities at the same rate as men. Men tend to be a little more aggressive about what they want to do. And so in working with young women, just like the example that I gave a little while ago about there being, 600,000, plus pilots, which, mm-hmm. Only 6% are women. But what I encourage young women to do is to not just stay focused, but to not see themselves, quote unquote, as women. You see yourself as an engineer, a computer scientist, a mathematician, and you move forward with that. And you just don't entertain all that external stuff, and then you won't get caught up in it. You're focused then on your discipline. Yes, ECSU is an unspoken women's power center, but we're not telling anybody that, right? But we encourage, all of our students.
Now, are you working in the high school and middle school areas also as you're looking at your new your pool of potential students at ECSU to really, particularly working with girls, to get them to really consider?
Absolutely. In fact, actually, we have a new chapter, Women in Aviation. And it actually involves students that even before high school. And I also am touring all the 21 county area, every high school. And yes, I'm encouraging young ladies, but also young men, mm-hmm. To make sure that they are optimizing every opportunity they have. And ECSU, we certainly hope will be a part of that.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. If you are an alum of Elizabeth City State University and haven't had a chance to say hello to Dr. Stacey Franklin Jones, give us a call and take that opportunity now. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. We've got a couple of questions coming through to us on Facebook. The one is, what do you see as your biggest challenge right now in terms of the university?
Balancing all of the interests. Some are competing. Some it's just a matter of timing. We'd like to see a lot done at the university, all in 5 minutes, which is interesting because that's usually something that I challenge someone. I'm usually the challenge, pushing it forward. But the timing and just really balancing all the interests. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy around the university. Certainly, I'm enjoying that as well as being the first female chancellor, and just the timing is absolutely perfect. But there is a lot to do, and we have a lot of goals, and just making sure that we achieve them all timely.
I had the honor of serving as the MC for Founders Dinner, I think it was 2 years ago now, at Elizabeth City. And so it was the enthusiasm for the university was very, very clear.
Well, you have another opportunity.
Oh, great.
Our Founders Day Gala comes up March 7th, and a royal affair. Let me just say that. Affair. And so if there are any tickets left, I'm sure there are just a few, but if you... you can go to the site and
okay.
but a
All right.
royal affair.
ECSU.edu, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Another question was, how will you incorporate your prior experience with the current atmosphere at ECSU?
Carefully. The opportunities for ECSU to lead, given the input and the influence of all the three areas that you talked about, government, higher ed, and industry, the opportunities are tremendous. And again, it's the balance and in the best interest of the students. But I plan to use, and I'm already doing it, each and every aspect of my 33 years plus experience to move the university forward. And in fact, actually, that's really key to a number of universities, and especially HBCUs, is tapping into all of those. We can't just go one path because the world is not tolerant of that. And so that's what we're doing at ECSU, and that's what I'm doing as Chancellor, is taking everything that I know to be what we should be doing and moving forward.
One of the things that when I was reading up on your background and so forth, when you were at Benedict College, which is another HBCU in South Carolina, you implemented a program called SEE, which stands for, hold on, Success Equals Effort. And it was a plan to help freshmen and sophomores, if I read it correctly, to be able to succeed. Things like that program. Do you intend to implement also at ECSU? And secondly, explain to our audience kind of what that was and why you felt that was necessary to implement at Benedict.
Well, that was actually the brainchild of Dr. Swinton, who's still the president there. And you're right, I had the job of implementing that. But it was really the start of something that's actually taking on a number of different forms at a number of different universities. And in fact, actually, and I'm going to jump to ECSU in just a moment, but there, it was based on motivating students to be actively involved and participate in the class, and with the expectation that if they did everything they were to do, that they would emerge as at least satisfactory. But then it also holds faculty, or it held faculty accountable for making sure that what they were providing in terms of instruction and what they were testing on was aligned. But interestingly enough, at ECSU, we have the University of North Carolina system has minimum admissions requirements. 800 SAT, there is a 2.5 grade point average requirement. We actually are honored to be hosting a pilot that allows students that have a slightly higher GPA, but a slightly lower SAT and ACT score to be admitted. Because it is not so much about where you start, it's about where you finish. Now, ECSU, we have plenty of students. They actually gave me a list a little earlier today of students that are scoring well into the 20s on their ACT, 1,200, 1,300 above on their SATs. We cherish our students that are at that level. But there's also quite a few students who have shown that they can achieve and they can master what they have been given, but they don't do quite as well on standardized tests. And so we have an opportunity actually to not only work with those students, but study their progress over the next 3 years. It is a wonderful opportunity. Students who are considering admission to ECSU really should go to our site, www.ecsu.edu, and go to admissions and read all about our MARA program, our pilot program there. And it just so happens now I have yet another opportunity to work with students who have a little different start.
One of the tenets, I guess, or things that HBCUs traditionally have been known for was to admit students who don't necessarily have the best grades at the beginning, but offer them an opportunity to get a college education. Some say that's also the reason why many HBCUs are no longer succeeding. that they've got to change that model. Do you think that you can incorporate both? It sounds like a little bit like...
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not sure who's saying that that it is in any way, shape, or form the fault of the students that HBCUs have admitted that have led to the challenges that we are seeing. But I would not agree with that at all. I think for the challenges that we're seeing with HBCUs here of late, we have to be not only open to change and being nimble and doing it timely, but also in accountability and embracing it and actually using it to leverage. And that's not to imply that we haven't. It's just, we need to look at new strategies where we actually make that work for us as opposed to against us. I don't think, we can, how can we blame, our students for the challenges? What I think is interesting, Barbara, we talk about students as if they came from some planet. We don't know, how they got here. Okay. But the reality is, and, we're in the I'll just say same, age category. But the reality is they're our students. I mean, exactly. We may not, I didn't give birth to those at ECSU, but that's the generation that we raise.
Exactly.
So if they are less than perfect, then we created an environment for them to develop less than perfectly. So absolutely not. You just happen to, as you can see, just, push a button for me. It's like, how can we blame the students? We created an environment where achievement may have been more of a challenge than it should have been. So then it's our responsibility to fix it, to address it, to allow them the very best opportunity to excel and be successful academically and also personally.
If you're just joining us, we're talking with the Chancellor of Elizabeth City State University, Dr. Stacey Franklin Jones. Give us a call, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. What are your questions for Dr. Jones in terms of her plans for Elizabeth City State University, or if you'd like to know more about her background, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. We particularly love to hear from some of the alum that are here in the Hampton Roads area. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. We do something here at Another View called the Another View Roundtable. And we do this once a month where we have pundits who talk about various issues. And recently we did a show on the state of HBCUs. Let me go back to your button for a second. And one of the major points that came out of that conversation was, and you mentioned it too, HBCUs being able to become more nimble, particularly in dealing with their finances and ways to keep the schools solvent. Do you think that because you are a public university, you have more of an advantage in that arena versus the private HBCUs? Or is it still all about being more focused on grants and those types of opportunities to bring money into the university?
Well, for both the privates and the publics, we have to keep our portfolios diverse for all our revenue, and that's regardless, again, whether you're private or public. The advantage, of course, with a public institution is that there is a defined process for state appropriations. The disadvantage, though, is that you can't make independent decisions, on a whim. And in some cases, that's, an advantage. In other cases, it's a disadvantage. Each historically black college and university, each university period is unique, has unique challenges. But the financial aspect does appear to be a challenge with HBCUs at a disproportional rate. And that, too, you have to navigate the terrain, the economic terrain, and you have to be prepared to make changes where needed. And again, it goes back to, as far as I'm concerned, the portfolio and the dependency, whether it's tuition versus sponsor programs, industry partnerships and investments. And you just have to work it, and you have to work it in your unique environment. The environments that HBCUs create for students is second to none. I'm a product of an HBCU, and certainly the connectedness, the nurturing, the family type environment, in addition to mastering all of the disciplines at a high level, wonderful. But then we need to make that work for us with a broader audience, and it serves the country better as well. It's not just serving an institution, a particular institution, but making that work for us is really key. There are many students who need the type of environment that I've just described and we've talked about to succeed, and so we need to play to a broader audience, and that's just one aspect.
One of the things I always loved for people who, particularly those of us who have attended HBCUs, to understand for the broader audience that anyone can go to an HBCU. Absolutely. And that it has been open all along.
Absolutely. Historically Black colleges and universities came about because clearly there was a people who were disenfranchised, did not have the same advantages, but that still exists today for a number of different groups of people, and doesn't necessarily have to always be focused on race. HBCUs have a lot to offer in the way of support for students and success. And again, we really need to play to a broader audience.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Sam joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Sam. You're on the air.
Hi. I'd like to ask the Chancellor make a statement first.
Turn your radio down, Sam, if you can, so it won't confuse you.
Pardon me?
Can you turn your radio down so that you can just speak? Okay. And your question for the Chancellor?
The question is, as far as extra money coming into school, how is that being appropriated? And at the same time, you made a statement earlier about some HB schools are closing because academics, but could you get her to expound on financially? Maybe that's why some of them are closing. And also about the pharmacological school that they're supposed to have there.
Okay. Thanks, Sam, for the call. We appreciate that. Let's start with the pharmacological school.
The School of Pharmacy, actually, we have both at the baccalaureate and master's degree level. I think he's probably referring to the doctoral program in pharmacy. It is, at this point, we're reviewing where we were going to go with that as we move forward. I think the other question, I'm not totally sure, but let me just make this crystal clear. I understand that there are a number of institutions where there's some talk of close down. Elizabeth City State University is not one of them. Elizabeth City State University stands strong, has been here for almost 125 years. And although I don't expect to be chancellor for the next 125 years,
you will be the story. You are.
ECSU is strong, and that's not a concern at this time. But he may have been alluding to, certainly talk of other universities. Again, each university, it's a unique situation. And so unless I knew, exactly what he was referring to, it'd be hard to respond.
Okay. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. I'm looking at my producer. Maybe we don't have a call right now. All right, I'll go into another question then. A Facebook question came in. As the first female chancellor of ESCU.
That's a new name.
Exactly, ECSU.
That's right.
Have you encountered any pushback because of your gender?
You know what? I don't know. I don't ask. That's just not something I focus on. But I will tell you this. Here's a real advantage of being a woman and the chancellor. I get to be the chancellor and the first lady.
There you go.
And so I just see all the upsides of it. But I don't think I'm getting any pushback. And if so, for those who have known me long enough, I likely am not going to notice it because I'm too busy pushing forward to really notice the pushback.
Okay, let's see. We're going to John in Norfolk. Hi, John. You're on the air.
Good morning. It's a great program. And,
Thank you.
I wish the Chancellor much success in her tenure.
My
question is about adjunct faculty. What is the proportion of adjunct faculty compared to your full-time faculty? And is that proportion one the Chancellor prefers or wishes to change?
I do not have the exact number, but I can tell you it's the minority of our faculty. The overwhelming majority are full-time faculty. I have not examined in detail what the optimum combination is, but the overwhelming majority of our faculty are full-time.
I know that the school started as a teaching school, and teaching is still a very relevant part of the ECSU curriculum.
Absolutely.
So what's new? What are you guys teaching in terms of what folks need to be doing in the classroom these days? Well,
certainly the technology that support teaching, and not only more effective teaching, but teaching with a broader reach. And the focus on critical needs, teaching the critical needs areas, certainly in mathematics, also in biology. And for those programs, we have programs at the master's level. And then even policy surrounding education. North Carolina as a state is working now through a number of challenges. And one is how, teachers are rewarded. And incentivized. And so the policy aspect is very much a part of the curriculum for the development of our teachers, and also best practices. And actually those three are underlying for all of ECSU majors as we move forward, and that is the technology that supports the discipline and, even in performing arts. I mean, we actually have a music engineering and technology concentration. So technology is just underlying.
Everywhere.
And anywhere that I find that it's not, it will be. But then also policy, and this is policy that, applies to majors that are not STEM, majors. So, psychology or English, history, those areas, and then best practices. So all of our students will have that as part of their curriculum.
Another question we have is, what is the enrollment criteria for out-of-state students?
The minimum admissions requirements are the same. So the for North Carolina, the 800
SAT
and
2.5
and 2.5 GPA. Again, we have our MAR pilot, where we will consider students that have a higher GPA and a slightly lower SAT and ACT score. They are interested students are advised to go to the site and just click on admissions. And they'll find all the details there.
Okay. Your background, which I find fascinating, because you went to college at 16.
I did.
Right?
Is that on? Did you Google that?
But you came from an education family. And actually, your family started a school, is that right? Or owned a school?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
My parents started an experimental school system of Massachusetts with no grades, all focused on family groups. So we started in a family group with different what would be considered grade levels at the beginning of the day. So that was kind of our homeroom. And then we went to our classes. We had lunch with our family group. And at the end of the day, we went back to our family groups. And the older students would help the younger students with their homework. That, certainly led to me going to college at 16. But then also my mindset, I guess, the focus on the family and the connectedness, that kind of atmosphere, being the best to nurture ideas, to develop, not only academically, but personally in a safe environment. But, of course, like family, you don't get to choose them all. But then
choose your friends, but
that's
not your
right.
family.
But then that helps even with social skills and being able to function professionally in an environment. You're not going to get to choose all your coworkers.
So I wonder if is that part of your idea of, in terms of the whole student, not so much focusing on the grade as much as the effort and as much as the ability to comprehend whether or not you can write it down on a piece of paper and get an A. Do you know?
You know what? It's just a part of who I am. And so it's going to be a part of anything that I lead. But I want to underscore that it's not just students who come in with slightly lower scores that are going to benefit from that. In fact, the overwhelming majority of the time, it's going to be students who come in who have very high scores on standardized tests who are going to benefit from that type of environment. And especially in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I mean, that concept of nerds, I can say that just because I'm coming from out of that. But I mean, it's real. Mm-hmm. But you can have a brilliant mind, but if you're not really good at communicating, you're not comfortable working with other people, then
it doesn't matter because nobody will know
exactly.
it. Exactly.
Yeah. And then you actually will not be able to be of service, or you won't have the impact on the environment that the company, the nation needs.
Now, I know that college and university is all about the academics. However, there is a football team and there is a basketball team.
That's right.
And you all are part of the CIAA,
right?
And
we are headed to CIAA. We're headed to Charlotte next week. And I will say, our men, they're looking pretty good. And I know they're going to say, boy, Chancellor Jones all she talked about were the women and the ladies. But let me tell you, the Lady Vikings are the ones to watch. Okay. We have two players, actually, who have been the CIAA Players of the Week, not once, not twice. We're talking about 3 and 4 times. So they are a team to watch. But we're excited about going to Charlotte, which, by the way, the commissioner of CIAA, first woman commissioner, too. So, so when I get back to campus, they're going to ask me about what's up with all this woman's thing.
I want to try to get one more call in before we run out of time. Norman joins us from North Carolina. Hi, Norman. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon, Dr. Jones. Norman Sherry.
Good.
Viking 64.
Ooh, how are you?
I'm doing well. I think we met at least once back at the Bowie State game. I have a grandson that's playing football there.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Listen, I was listening to the show, and I did hear you make some remarks regarding my concern or question, but I didn't get it all. I guess with Elizabeth City starting out as a teacher education college many, many years ago, what opportunities do we provide for students? I'm currently serving as interim director, Martin Community College Berkeley campus. So what opportunities do we provide for students who may be interested in transferring from a 2-year community college to a 4-year institution?
Okay, thank you, Norman. I'm going to let her answer because we're running quickly out of time, but go ahead.
Well, we have articulation agreements with the community colleges in the region and actually beyond. And for students who are interested in teaching in particular, we have the Bachelor of Arts program and the licensure for English, history, music, the Bachelor of Science. We have biology, mathematics, phys ed, also for birth to kindergarten, elementary, middle school, and special ed. I hope I didn't forget anything. Mm-hmm. But the articulation agreement actually governs the process and the number of credits that are transferred. That's in place. We're actually revising our articulation agreement with all of the community colleges to make that path clearer for students and streamlined. And so, again, we welcome all the community college students who are interested in going on the 4-year degrees.
Okay. So we've got about 2 minutes left, and I want to give you an opportunity to say to our listening audience what you want to say to them about Elizabeth City State University.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on the show. I'm so excited
You're
about
welcome.
speaking about ECSU. ECSU provides, it's a unique opportunity for students to excel, to do it in an environment where we will work with the student to find their path. It's not just about the discipline, although the rigor is a big part of it. That's my background. Rigor, and they always, say that. But developing the whole student in an environment that is safe to express different ideas, to be innovative, to grow, to not necessarily get it right the first time. A lot of times we interact with students as if we got it right the first time, exactly. And that's just not the case. And opportunities to interact with industry partners, with the Department of Defense, with Homeland Security, with community partners, and with other universities within UNC and then outside of UNC. And so it really is this haven of opportunity. And so as the 10th Chancellor and CEO rather, and the first woman, I'm just delighted, honored to be a part of ECSU and have the responsibility and accountability for leading for it.
Fantastic.
It's wonderful.
Well, we appreciate being a part of your first phase, which is to get the word out.
That's right. Absolutely.
About ECSU.
Absolutely.
And if people have any other questions, they can go to www.ecsu.edu to find out any information. Dr. Stacey Franklin Jones, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we will be right back.
Hi, this is Essie Patha-Merkerson from Law and Order. You are listening to Another View at 89.5 WHRV.
Everybody knows that is my favorite show on the planet, and every time our audio engineer wants to make me feel good, that's what he does. Thank you, Victor. I really appreciate that. Singer-songwriter Deborah Cox isn't just a chart-topping recording artist. Cox never seems to stop reinventing herself. Over the years, the songstress has easily transitioned from the recording studio to the Broadway stage, from the big screen to most recently, the voice of Whitney Houston in the Lifetime movie. Our Lisa Godley spoke to Cox about her busy life and how she keeps it all together.
How did you get here? Nobody's supposed to be here.
Canadian-born singer-songwriter Deborah Cox has landed on Billboard's top 20 R&B singles chart 6 times. Her double platinum hit Nobody's Supposed to Be Here broke records after keeping a firm hold on the number 1 spot for 14 consecutive weeks.
I've spent all my life on a search to find.
Often called Canada's top R&B artist, Cox has been singing for about as long as she can remember.
I was always singing. I was always that kid that was singing along to commercial jingles, the radio, records that my parents played. I had an immediate love for music. It wasn't until probably elementary school that I started to take it seriously, because that's when I did a lot of talent shows and a lot of birthday parties and just sort of local things to just get experience. By the time I was 12, I was performing with a local band, and we do all kinds of different events.
But she says it was attending a performing arts high school that really enlightened her about other possibilities.
So I was exposed to a lot of musical theater, to drama. It was another way for me to express myself, and it was a great outlet for me emotionally to do monologues and be a part of different plays. But musicals were something that really inspired me and motivated me, because it was an opportunity to do it all.
All I have to do is forget how much I love him.
So when the chance to perform on Broadway arose, Deborah Cox was ready, capturing the lead in the Elton John Tim Rice musical, Aida.
Changing situation. Fiction and cool. And all the magic was done.
I love musicals, so performing, doing Aida on Broadway and Jekyll and Hyde, and having the opportunity to do another musical early in my career called Mama, I Want to Sing, those were great moments, and for many different reasons. They were just great learning places for me to learn how to communicate and have presence on a stage and communicate with the audience. And they were just great places to hone my craft.
From Broadway to the big screen, acting in films like Love Come Down and Blood of a Champion, and singing on movie soundtracks for such films as Dr. Dolittle 2, Hotel Rwanda, Akilah and the Bee, and Tyler Perry's Meet the Browns.
My range and my ability and my love for music is very vast. So I could go from listening to dance music to jazz to classical. I love it all, and I love to have the opportunity and the ability to sing different styles of music.
In the Lifetime movie Whitney, you didn't see Deborah Cox. The face on the big screen was former America's Top Model contestant turned actress, Yaya DaCosta. But the powerful voice belting out one Whitney Houston hit after another belonged to Deborah Cox. Cox says it was Whitney's voice that inspired her to get into the music business in the first place. So to sing her songs for the Lifetime movie was a dream come true.
Angela Bassett is making her directorial debut, so I'm honored to have been a part of that whole vision and project, working very closely with Angela on set, and then also with Dick Rudolph, Maya Rudolph's father, and husband of the late Minnie Riperton. There were so many great moments on set that when you work with legendary people like that, it's like being in university.
Deborah Cox is currently working on her latest album, which should be out later this year. She currently lives in Miami with her husband and 3 children. For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
Incredible voice and incredible actress, Deborah Cox. Let me correct something that I said earlier today in today's show. As I was introducing Terry L. Payton, I said she was from Booker T. Booker T. Washington High School here in Norfolk. My familiarity, because I love Norfolk Public Schools, so please forgive me for that. And before we leave you today, let me tell you about something special happening at Norfolk State University. NSU will explore the roles students and faculty played in the civil rights movement during a special event this coming Thursday, February 26. A photo exhibit and panel discussion will highlight the university's role and that of local Black churches during that historic time. Both events aim to shed light on people and inroads that might otherwise have been overlooked. It all takes place Thursday at 6 p.m. in the Harrison B. Wilson Archives and Gallery at the Lyman Beecher Brooks Library on campus. The discussion and exhibit are free and open to the public. The photo exhibit will remain on display for an additional 3 weeks. And if you'd like to hear this show again or share it with a friend, please visit our website, anotherviewradio.org, and download the podcast. You can also sign up for our eView newsletter, a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows. And also, if you have events that you would like to share with our audience, please email us at contact@anotherviewradio.org, and we would be happy to list your event on our website. And every now and then, we're able to pull one or two off and actually talk about it on the air. So that's contact@anotherviewradio.org. Next week, we're going to be talking with Dr. Keith Newby, our favorite doctor, here on Another View. It's Another View on Health. Information you need to know to keep yourself and your family safe and healthy. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer. And Leslie Gooden answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Have a wonderful, safe, and warm weekend. And let's get together again next Friday at noon for Another View.